One evening in March 1974, Salt Lake City, investigator sat across an interrogation table from a man who claimed to see the unseen. The investigator was a cynic by nature, but as the man began to describe the crime scene in chilling, impossible detail, facts that had never been released to the press, the air in the room turned cold. Was this man truly a psychic? Or was he narrating his own handiwork? But before we unravel this enigma, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious, delivered in a narrative format, you've found your home. This is all we do, several times a week. So, if that interests you, please go on a vacation with the like button, subscribe, and turn on all notifications. Let's get into it. It's March 11th, 1974. At Brigham Young University in Utah, 22-year-old Barbara Rocky is sitting at her desk, writing furiously. Barbara was a California girl, a free spirit, trapped in a deeply religious, conservative environment. To her roommates, she wasn't just different, she was an enigma. Barbara was writing a letter to her 7 roommates. It was a goodbye. She spoke of leaving, to be with people who understood her. Tired of the judgment, she had even started telling her roommates that she prayed to the devil, just to watch them recoil. She wanted out. Her escape plan involved a man named Richard Finder, a self-proclaimed psychic she had met through a radio show. Despite the age gap, they shared an intense spiritual bond. Richard was her North Star, promising a life where she didn't have to pretend to be someone else. But there was a darker reason for her flight. 1974 was the year of fear on American campuses. Reports of a serial killer targeting young women were everywhere. Barbara, with her long dark hair and striking features, fit the profile of the victims perfectly, and she was terrified. In an act of desperation, Barbara took judo classes and bought a .357 revolver with the help of her best friend, Jerry Hicker. But weeks before her disappearance, the gun vanished from her room. She reported it stolen, but the trail went cold. Barbara was now defenseless. On the morning of March 11th, Barbara packed a turquoise necklace, her most valuable possession. She planned to pawn it in Salt Lake City for what she called seed money to start her new life. She left the goodbye note in her bag and headed out. In her driveway, she met her best friend, Jerry. He was returning her car. After a skiing trip, they spoke briefly. She took the keys and she drove off toward her afternoon classes. No one knew it would be the last time they would ever see her alive. Classes ended, but Barbara didn't return. Jerry, ever the concerned friend, went to her house, and that's when something strange happened. He found her car parked blocks away at a random apartment complex. She had no connection to it. The car was unlocked. Inside the car, Jerry found the note. His heart began to race. Panicked, he ran straight to the campus police. "It looks like a suicide note," he told them. The police began a preliminary search, but the vast wilderness of Utah makes finding one person nearly impossible. The next day, 50 miles north, in Big Cottonwood Canyon, a utility worker made a discovery that would haunt him forever. High up a remote trail, he saw a woman lying face down. At first, he thought she was sunbathing, but then he realized something chilling. It was March, and the woman was completely nude. Detective Pete Hayward arrived at the scene. What he saw was deeply disturbing. Barbara's clothes were folded, not thrown, not scattered, but stacked in neat, perfect piles. Beside her body, there were no signs of a struggle, no drag marks. It was as if she had walked to her death willingly. The autopsy revealed something far darker. 5 gunshot wounds, all from a .357 caliber revolver. The killer had stood over her and fired again and again. Detective Hayward was certain this was not a random attack. Barbara knew her killer. She had climbed that steep trail with someone she trusted. Detectives traced Barbara's turquoise necklace to a pawn shop in Salt Lake City. The clerk remembered her clearly. She seemed nervous, in a hurry. When asked why, she gave a strange answer. "My boyfriend is circling the block in the car." That single sentence launched the hunt for the mysterious boyfriend. Then, suddenly, a new name appeared. Richard Finder, the psychic. He called the police himself, claiming he had visions about the murder weapon. He owned a .357 revolver. He was in town, and somehow, he seemed to know details only the killer should know. For investigators, the case looked almost too perfect. An open and shut suspect. But science had other plans. The ballistics report came back, and it destroyed the theory. Richard's gun was not the murder weapon. With no new leads, and Richard's alibi partially holding up, the investigation stalled. The case of Barbara Rocky went cold. For 30 years, her killer walked free. Then, in 2005, a young detective named Todd Park reopened the file. He didn't have new witnesses. He didn't have new suspects, but he had something else. Old evidence. Evidence preserved since the 1970s. Inside storage, he found a jar filled with dirt, collected from beneath Barbara's body in 1974. Using modern forensic technology, Park's team extracted a DNA profile from that soil and from Barbara's clothing. They tested it against the suspects. It did not match the psychic. It did not match. Instead, it matched a name already inside the file. A name no one had ever suspected. The DNA belonged to Jerry Hicker, the loyal best friend, the man who helped her buy the gun, the man who reported her missing, the man who spent 30 years pretending to be her protector while hiding a terrible truth. Barbara's blood was already on his hands. Investigators uncovered the truth. Jerry had stolen Barbara's gun weeks before the murder, and when he discovered she was leaving Utah forever, his obsession turned deadly. He lured her to the canyon, forced her to undress at gunpoint, and when she refused him, he executed her with her own weapon. Jerry Hicker was finally arrested, dying of cancer. He eventually confessed. From the very beginning, he had used the suicide note to mislead the police. He died in 2014, a convicted killer. And Barbara's story leaves us with a chilling truth. Sometimes, the monster isn't a stranger. Sometimes, it's the person holding the keys.